Aglorev Magazine Live is brought to you by
Beroga Leilani's Energy Exchange. Express yourself without saying a word.
And
Aglorev Entertainment. Mind, body, soul, energy, healing.
New readers, welcome back to Aglorev Magazine Live, your reliable source for assistance navigating the 3D. Right now is a very pivotal time for the 3D and the 5D. War seems inevitable as Israel unleashes on Palestine. And we are in the midst of eclipse season with loads of retrogrades and oppositions. But don't be bothered. I have plenty of guidance to help you resonate on your highest timeline in spite of the chaos. Do you find yourself getting caught up in dating traps? Well, I have guidance for that as well. TikTok is here to stay. I've got the latest details. Big Brother has me gutted in all ways this week. And with the upcoming seasons of Love is Blind USA and Love Island Australia coming out soon, we are going to break down the previous latest seasons of both until the new seasons arrive. A fitting movie recommendation, and then I get to tell you some more of my opinions presented as a joke. If you've been tuning in and have used this information in your life and have a greater awareness as a result, and have started to see the energies at work in your life, share your stories in the comments and tune in each week to stay informed and prepared. I'm here for you. If you need further assistance or personalized attention, contact me through my site. From now until October 14th is going to be a severe astrological purge. We have Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Uranus retrograde, with both Saturn and Uranus retrograde ruling over the Aquarius space where Pluto currently is. And Pluto goes direct on October 14th. So there will be many phases completing. Pluto retrogrades sprout new beginnings from the endings, like a phoenix from the ashes. And this is happening just before we step into Scorpio season. We're about to experience many dynamic transitions, a load of transformations, beginnings. Have you closed a cycle or cycles? Have you put in the work to connect yourself to your future higher self? Well, this is it. This is what we've been working towards. We're also still in eclipse season, and Pluto will be going direct within the eclipse energy. So things are changing at an accelerated pace. Hold on, but don't worry. You're prepared. You've been following along each week, and you've done the work, right? Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's never too late to jump in. These things are happening, regardless of whether you understand them or not. I'm here to give you clarity, so when things do happen, you are not filled with fear and anxiety. Also, look at your Aquarius and 11th house placements. That's where you'll be experiencing those endings and new beginnings. Also, look at your Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto placements. Also Capricorn and Scorpio. The Capricorn and Scorpio are indirectly affecting. And check their rulers. Indirect influences are good to take a note of, to get clarity on the nuances, especially during eclipse season. There are going to be some long-term contracts being made, settling us up for several years. It's a terrific time to think about things in the long term. Decisions you're making right now are going to be affecting you for several years. Take your time with it. There is a time frame, but go at your own pace. Now, September 18th to October 6th is when Mercury is transitioning through Libra. Mercury in Libra is a time when we are encouraged to entertain conversations. with those who have different opinions than us, different perspectives, different values than us. Almost like research. Libra loves to collect information, pros and cons, and then make a decision. You may be forced to have conversations with people that you do not share interests with, perspectives, values, belief systems, or ideologies, just to gain insight on how their mind works. Mercury in Libra transitions bring peace in our connections with others, expanding our social circles, and helping to share positive information. Things related to balance, peace, harmony, beauty, fairness, equality, and justice. It is the season of thoughtful dialogue, compassionate listening, finding middle ground without losing our voice. This is also a beautiful time for us to negotiate our desired agreements. When Mercury is in Libra, we're encouraged to find something that we agree on, a compromise or common ground, so that we can handle our negotiations and collaborations with ease. You may have some possibly uncomfortable conversations. It is the perfect time to build bridges, find closure or healing. And if you're single, Libra is all about flirty conversation and expanding our social circles. So it's a brilliant time to date. And if you're new to dating world and seek a little guidance and encouragement, contact me through my site. Now, next week is going to feel like a roller coaster. It starts with Venus sextiling Mars. Everything is perfectly aligned. And then on the 17th, Mercury in Virgo is going to form an exact opposition to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. This alignment feels overwhelming and confusing. This weekend, you'll feel the energy to commit to something, publish something, launch something, start something, initiate a new chapter. It feels really positive. You're going after what you want. And then, a few days later, Mercury, which is always focusing on clarity, is in Virgo. So it's all about focusing on structure, organization, or the health of something, the refinement or improvement of something. It's going to form an opposition, which can sometimes be challenging, sometimes helpful. This one is specifically challenging because it's forming in opposition to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So, we may feel like we're being pulled into uncertainty about something. Or we may discover something that we don't want to know. Something feels stressful. So practice self-care. Mercury opposite Saturn usually brings delays, setbacks, heavy conversations, or information that feels unsettling. This may feel out of control, and it's okay. Not everything has to be perfectly organized. If you'd like a more detailed explanation on how these energies affect you, contact me through my site. A dating trap is an unconscious relationship choice that results in an unsolvable problem in a relationship. Getting out of the trap often means leaving the relationship when you're single. By practicing conscious dating, you can do a lot more than you realize to avoid these traps and prepare for a lasting and successful relationship. Trap number 1, the marketing trap. You believe that you need to make yourself more appealing to attract and sell yourself with an attractive package and presentation. When you fall into the marketing trap, you feel that nobody wants you as you really are. By marketing yourself, you risk disappointment and relationship failure. How to avoid this trap? authenticity. You will attract compatible people when you show them who you really are. Birds of a feather flock together. Just be you. Trap number 2. The packaging trap. You focus on the outside packaging, such as somebody's body, looks, job, wealth, or material possessions, and overlook the reality of the person inside. The packaging trap is the opposite of the marketing trap. Instead of seeking to sell yourself with attractive packaging, you focus on the packaging of others. How to avoid this trap? Beyond the outside packaging to areas of real compatibility. This doesn't mean you should forget about chemistry, but put it into perspective, understanding it is only one element of what you require in a successful relationship. Trap number 3, the scarcity trap. You unconsciously believe that there is a limited supply of possible partners, and therefore think that you have to take what you can get, or be alone. The scarcity trap results in relationship failure because there is a temptation to settle for less. You believe that you can't get what you really want because there is not enough to go around. Unfortunately, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy because when you expect less, you get less as well. You will always be on the lookout for someone better, just in case. How to avoid this trap? Define your first choice, what you really want, and persevere. Trust that if you apply yourself, you can get what you really want in your life. You must be able to say no to what you do not want, to be able to say yes to what you do want. You have the power to choose who, what, where, and how, and can get what you really want if you make effective choices aligned with your vision and requirements. Trap number 4, the compatibility trap. Assuming that if you have fun together and get on well, you are compatible and a committed relationship will work. This results in relationship failure when discovering the vast difference between a fun-focused recreational dating relationship and a serious, long-term, committed relationship. The process and criteria for choosing a recreational relationship needs to be very different from choosing a life partner. How to avoid this trap? When you are ready for a life partnership, define your requirements and use them to scout, sort, screen, and test potential partners. Do not try to convert a recreational relationship into a committed one unless 100% of your requirements are met. Trap number 5, the fairy tale trap. Passively expecting your ideal partner to magically appear and live happily ever after without effort on your part. Believing that finding your soulmate will just happen. This results in disappointment when the frogs that happen to jump into your life don't become a prince. How to avoid this trap? Take a personal responsibility for your relationship choices and outcomes. Have effective scouting, sorting, and screening strategies. Initiate contact and be the chooser. Don't simply react to people that choose you. Trap number 6, the date to mate trap. Becoming an instant couple, as if giving each person you date an extended test drive. Believing that if you develop an exclusive relationship with everyone you date, that a successful, committed relationship will eventually happen. Other terms for this are serial monogamy and the mini marriage. This approach is a costly use of time and emotional energy. The inertia of this trap is pressure to make the relationship work. Attempt to resolve unsolvable problems and fit a square peg in a round hole. Because breaking up and being single again is an undesirable outcome. How to avoid this trap? Date a variety of people and have fun without being exclusive. When you are ready for a committed relationship, define your requirements and use them as tools to scout, sort, and screen potential partners. Make a careful relationship choice and consciously use the pre-commitment period to determine if this is the right relationship for you. Trap number 7, the attraction trap. Making relationship choices based on feelings of attraction. Interpreting a strong physical attraction to someone is a sign that the relationship is a good choice and meant to be. This approach could result in relationship failure when unsolvable problems surface because you ignore the red flags whilst infatuated. Unconscious choices usually result in repeating unproductive past patterns. Attraction is like the radar that helps you find your target, but the attraction trap occurs when you blindly follow that radar. How to avoid this trap? Balance your attraction by defining your requirements and use them to scout, sort, and screen potential partners. Choosing your life's mate carefully. From this one decision will come 90% of your happiness and misery. Trap number 8. Interpreting infatuation, attraction, need, good sex, and or attachment as love. As it feels good, it must be love. Love conquers all. All you need is love. You feel so in love that you believe it must be a good relationship. After the initial infatuation is gone, you spend the rest of your time together just trying to get it back. How to avoid this trap? Make conscious relationship choices by defining your requirements and use them to scout, sort, and screen potential partners. Trap number 9, the sex trap. Focusing on the chemistry under the covers by interpreting sex as love. Using sex as a kind of compatibility test. If the sex is good, then the relationship will be good as well. Or becoming emotionally attached and considering yourself in a committed relationship as soon as you have sex. How do you avoid this trap? Make conscious relationship choices by defining your requirements and use them to scout, sort, and screen potential partners. Understand that relationships need more than great sex to thrive. Trap number 10, the rescue trap. Hoping a relationship will solve your emotional and financial difficulties and bring you happiness and fulfillment. Something like winning the lottery. You avoid taking responsibility for your life challenges, expecting to be rescued from them, resulting in desperation, neediness, and relationship failure when your problems multiply instead of disappear. How to avoid this trap? Define your vision for your life and relationship and live your vision as a successful single person. Resolve emotional, financial, and other problems prior to seeking a lasting committed relationship. Seek to be in a position of choice and want rather than need. Trap number 11, the codependent trap. You expect someone to love you and give you what you want by giving the other person what he or she wants. You attempt to earn love and happiness by acquiescing, giving, and helping. You really want to be in a relationship. You feel that you are not worthy as you are and need to earn love. You pursue relationships hard because you feel incomplete when you're not in one. You want to be the hero and therefore seek someone who wants to be rescued. But you learn the hard way that although it feels good to be needed, someone who needs you is not necessarily able to give you what you need. Needing to be needed often results in unconsciously attracting and choosing a relationship with a person who needs you. but as you later discover, is unable to give you what you want or need. How to avoid this trap? Define your vision and requirements, and choose a closely aligned partner. Learn to be assertive. Identify and ask for what you want and need. Identify and assert boundaries, and develop the ability to say no. Be the chooser and cautious of the people that choose you. Trap number 12, the entitlement trap. Believing that you deserve to be happy and get what you want in your life without effort or changes on your part result in relationship failure, as you rely on your partner to bring you happiness and fulfillment. This inevitably results in disappointment. If you continue to do what you've always done, you'll always get the same result. So how to avoid this trap? Take personal responsibility for your life and relationship. Define your vision and life purpose, and live them when single. Trap number 13, the virtual reality trap. Believing that what you see is what you get. Making hasty, long-term relationship decisions based on short-term impressions and inferences, instead of actual experience and knowledge. Getting involved in a relationship, focusing on potential, hoping that something that you really need to happen will get better or change over time, resulting in seeing what you want to see. Relationship failure results when later reality doesn't match. How to avoid this trap? Assume you don't know what you don't know, and stay in a pre-committed stage until you have solid experience and knowledge that this is the right relationship for you. Finding a life partner is not a race, it is a journey. Don't rush to win the honourable mention prize. Trap number 14, the Lone Ranger trap. You live your single life focused on your goal of finding your life partner, believing that you don't need anyone else in your life. You evaluate the people you meet for their relationship potential only, and do not take the opportunity to cultivate new friends, resulting in isolation and the perception of scarcity of potential partners, and the risk of settling for less than what you really want because you don't want to be alone. How to avoid this trap? Develop a support network, a community of friends of both genders, and do supportable by enrolling them to scout for you. Does this all sound intimidating? Do you recognize yourself in one or more of these traps? The good news is that these are all patterns of choice, meaning that they can be changed simply by being aware of them. Simple, but not always easy. Without support from our friends, family, therapist, or a coach, this is the most important journey of your life. My top recommendation would be to get the support you need to avoid these dating traps so that you can find the love of your life and live happily ever after. And remember, I am here for you, and you can reach me by filling out the submitting the contact us information box on my site. We now know who the new owners of TikTok will be. If Trump gets his deal done with Zion, a proposal to save TikTok from going dark in the United States would involve investments from a number of US-based venture capital firms, private equity funds, and tech companies together. The investors would create a new US-based company that will operate the app domestically. Sources familiar with the framework reported. The framework of the agreement, which was hammered out by US and Chinese negotiators in Madrid this week, largely mirrors the deal presented to President Donald Trump in April. before the president announced steep tariffs on China. This scrambled chats with Beijing over the popular social media app. Amongst the investors, which are expected to own a roughly 80% stake in TikTok, with Chinese shareholders holding the rest, are Oracle, Andreessen Horowitz, and Silver Lake. The sources said the new consortium would also be operated by a major US board, including a number appointed by the Trump administration. The Wall Street Journal first reported on details of the framework discussed in Madrid. The sources cautioned that the framework is still under discussion and could change before Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping are slated to speak, but the phone on Friday, during which the leaders are expected to formally strike the deal on TikTok. Any details of the TikTok framework are pure speculation, unless they are announced by the administration. A senior White House office official told CNN. Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, who last week briefly became the world's richest person, who has widely been rumored to be involved in discussion to buy TikTok's US assets. Trump, in January, has said he would champion Ellison, a Trump supporter, buying the app's US assets. Ellison's company already has a relationship with TikTok. Oracle, in 2020, began hosting TikTok's US data, and it briefly reached a deal with the first Trump administration that year to buy TikTok, before the deal was ultimately blocked, although Trump has previously said he would seek a 50-50 joint venture between ByteDance and a new American owner. The law banning TikTok that was passed by a bipartisan group of Congress people and signed by former President Joe Biden prevent China from owning a stake that's larger than 20% in TikTok's US assets. Trump extends the deadline as the deal continues to be hammered out. Trump on Tuesday signed an executive order extending the enforcement of a TikTok ban in the United States by another 3 months, an action that may be superseded later if the agreement to sell the social media app's US assets to an American bid buyer is finalized. The executive order was necessary to avoid TikTok going dark in the United States on Wednesday, when the previous extension was set to expire. Trump has previously extended the TikTok ban 3 times, after it initially went into effect on January 19th, a day before Trump took office. The Trump administration on Monday announced a deal has finally been reached between the United States and China to keep TikTok operational for the long term in the United States. Trump has long sought an elusive deal to wrestle TikTok's US assets from Chinese control, allowing an American investment group to buy it. That was a non-starter for Chinese for months, but US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Tuesday China ultimately relented, following Trump's threat to shut down TikTok in the United States. What turned the tide was a call that Ambassador Jameson Greer had with President Trump the night after the first day of negotiations, and President Trump made it clear that he would be willing to let TikTok go dark. Bessent told CNBC Tuesday, saying that he anticipated Trump and Xi would finalize the deal during a phone chat set to take place Friday. The bulk of the deal, organizing an American-led investor group to buy TikTok's US assets was completed in April, but the Trump's massive Liberation Day tariffs went into effect, effectively putting an embargo on all Chinese goods, and TikTok chats entered a standstill. After tariffs lowered, chats between China and the US resumed. Key details need to be ironed out. Besant didn't disclose the leverage that Trump was holding in the TikTok negotiations, but they could take place as soon as next month. At first, I was emotionally attached to this outcome, as I credit TikTok for bringing out many aspects of myself as a content creator. Its strict guidelines and methods of reinforcement did make me more aware. However, if US companies and the government are getting involved, it may reshape all the things I fell in love with. For now, I will just focus on the fact that we still have a platform for community, and hopefully this will not keep us from finding each other. But no matter what happens to any social media app, one thing will always remain constant. You can always contact me through my site. A United Nations Commission of Inquiry says Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. A new report says there are reasonable grounds to conclude that 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined under international law have been carried out since the start of the war with Hamas in 2023. Killing members of a group, causing them serious bodily and mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions calculated to destroy the group, and preventing births. It cites statements by Israeli leaders and the pattern of conduct by Israeli forces as evidence of genocidal intent. Israel's foreign ministry said it categorically rejected the report, denouncing it as distorted and false. The Israeli military launched a campaign in Gaza in response to the unprecedented homicide attack on southern Israel on the 7th of October 2023, in which about 1,200 people were unalived and 251 were taken hostage. At least 64,964 people have been unalived in the Israeli attacks in Gaza since then, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry, whose figures are seen as reliable by the United Nations. Most of the population has been repeatedly displaced. More than 90% of homes are estimated to be damaged or destroyed. The healthcare, water, sanitation, and hygiene systems have collapsed. And the United Nations-backed food security experts have declared a famine in Gaza City. The Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory has established by the United Nations Human Rights Council in 2021 to investigate all alleged violations of international humanitarian and human rights law. The 3-member expert panel is chaired by Nabi Pillay, a South African former United Nations human rights chief who was president of the International Tribunal on Rwanda's genocide. The 2 other members are Chris Sidoti and Australian human rights lawyer Mallory Catherine, and Indian expert on housing and land rights. The Commission has previously concluded that Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups committed war crimes and other grave violations in international law on October 7, 2023, and the Israeli security forces have committed crimes against humanity and war crimes in Gaza. The Commission said its latest report was the strongest and most authoritative United Nations finding to date on the war. However, it does not officially speak for the United Nations. The 72-page document alleges that Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces have committed and are continuing to commit 4 of the 5 acts of genocide defined under the 1942 Genocide Convention against a nation, ethnic, racial, or religious group, in this case, Palestinians in Gaza, unaliving members of the group through attacks on protected objects, targeting civilians and other protected persons, and the deliberate infliction of conditions causing death, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group through direct attacks on the civilians and protected objects. Severe mistreatment of detainees, forcing displacement of and environmental destruction, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of the group in whole or in part through destruction of structures and land essentials to Palestinians, destruction and denial of access to medical services, forced displacement, blocking essential aid, water, electricity, and fuel from reaching Palestinians, reproductive violence and specific conditions impacting children, imposing measures intended to prevent births through the December 2023 attack on Gaza's largest fertility clinic, reportedly destroying around 4,000 embryos and 1,000 sperm samples and unfertilized eggs. To fulfill the legal definition of genocide under the Genocide Convention, it must also be established that the perpetrator committed any one of those acts with specific intent to destroy the group in whole or in part. We went to the facts first, Pillay told the BBC. So we looked at statements made by the Israeli authorities indicating genocide intent, and we look at the pattern of conduct of Israeli authorities and Israeli security forced to show the genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference. Israeli politics and military leaders have consistently said its military operations in Gaza are conducted in self-defense to defeat Hamas and the other Palestinian armed groups, and to secure the release of Israeli hostages. They have also insisted that Israeli forces operate in accordance with international law and take all feasible measures to mitigate harm to civilians. However, the Commission's report concludes that President Isaac Herzog, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant have incited the commission of genocide in their speeches and statements. As early as the 7th of October 2023, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who vowed to inflict mighty vengeance on all of the places where Hamas is deployed, hiding and operating in that wicked city, he will turn them into rubble, Pillay said. He used his use of the phrase wicked city in the same statement. He implied that he saw the whole city of Gaza City, as responsible and a target for vengeance. And he told Palestinians to leave now, because we will operate forcefully everywhere, Gallant said, days after the 7th of October 2023. That Israeli was fighting human animals, and we act accordingly, Herzog, meanwhile, stated that it's an entire nation out there that is responsible for the Hamas-led attack. The Commission also said genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference that could be concluded from the pattern of conduct of Israeli authorities and security forces in Gaza that has allegedly included international, unaliving and seriously harming an unprecedented number of Palestinians, using heavy munitions, systematic and widespread attacks on religious, cultural and educational sites, imposing a siege on Gaza and starving its population. Pillay added, "It took us 2 years to gather all the actions and make factual findings, verify whether that had happened. It's only the facts that will direct you, and you can only bring it under the Genocidal Convention if those facts were done with this intention." The Commission says the acts of Israeli political and military leaders are attributed to the State of Israel, and that the state therefore bears responsibility for the failure to prevent genocide, the commission of genocide, and the failure to punish genocide. It also warns all other countries have an immediate obligation under the Genocide Convention to prevent and punish the crime of genocide, employing all measures at their disposal. If they do not, it says, they could be complicit. In a statement, the Israeli Foreign Ministry accused the 3 members of the commission of serving as Hamas proxies. The report relies entirely on Hamas falsehoods, laundered and repeated by others. These fabrications have already been thoroughly debunked, it said, in stark contrast to the lies in the report. Hamas is the party that attempted genocide in Israel, unaliving 1,200 people, raping women, burning families, unaliving and openly declaring its goal as unaliving every Jew. And Israeli military official dismissed the report as baseless, saying no other country has operated in these conditions and done so much to prevent harm to civilians or on the battlefield. President Herzog also condemned the report, which he said had misinterpreted his words. According to Reuters news agency, the Israeli Foreign Ministry also said that the Commission's membership should not be replaced when they stepped down from their roles later this year, and that the Commission itself should instead be abolished. In July, all 3 members submitted that resignation to the United Nations Human Rights Council. Pillay, who is 83, cited her age, medical issues, and the weight of several other commitments, whilst Sidoti said her retirement marked an appropriate time to reconstitute the Commission. A number of international and Israeli human rights organizations, independent United Nations experts, and scholars have also accused Israel of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The United Nations says it cannot make a legal determination as to whether a situation constitutes genocide under international law. It says a situation is referred to as genocide only after a competent national or international court has declared it as such. When asked by journalists on Tuesday if he would consider using the word genocide to describe Israelis' actions in Gaza, United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk said it's for the court to decide whether it's genocide or not. And we see the evidence mounting. A spokesman for the UK government also said the decision was up to the court, but added that this does not take away from our position that Israel's actions are appalling. The International Court of Justice is currently hearing a case brought by South Africa that accuses Israeli forces of genocide, but it could take years to reach a conclusion. Israel has called the case wholly unfounded and based on bias and false claims. And with the lovely world of streaming, it is amazing that we have access to all of the seasons of the streaming seasons, and so therefore we were able to analyze the latest available season of Love is Blind USA in anticipation for the arrival of the new season. So with that in mind, we are going to look at the first 3 episodes when they are meeting in the pods and look for some signs. Some of us have already seen the season, some of us can rewatch it as it goes. They go so fast that sometimes I forget who's there, so it's good to have a refresher. Now, even though I do kind of know who says yes, who doesn't, and as well as who is still together, which I'm very happy to say there is. Now, it's good to go back and see the beginnings, because once you know, it's easier to see that things were already there in the very first episode. Like, for example, in the very first meeting, in the first few minutes, Daniel was already on his knees and he is proposing to Taylor. How beautiful is that? They already had that connection, they already had that chemistry, they already had that spark, they already had that beautifulness. And it's adorable because they look like they're like little modern Titanic. Like, he looks like a Leonardo DiCaprio and she looks like a little Kate Winslet. It's very adorable. In all levels, they have a very good chemistry. Now, Sarah and Jerry, you see the cracks. You see a little bit of his insecurities and the fact that he is not emotional and he's not loving and attentive, and she knows this and she says she's okay with that. So those red flags were already there in the pods. It's just that she chose to ignore them. But we're going to look at this with fresh eyes. So we're going to watch this grow. We're going to point out all of the red flags on the way. Now with Madison and the love triangle with Alex and Mason, you see also how that started to fall apart. She gave a teddy bear to Alex, knowing that he shares the quarters with Mason. Why would you think? Like, there's one thing about healthy competition, but when they're living together, when you're in this, you know the guidelines for this experiment, you know what is at stake. So every gesture, every movement is taken as a greater thing. So why would you give him a bear and then expect things to not be solidified at that point? So that being said, also, you know, first 3 episodes, they're just kind of getting to know each other. They just some of them did choose, but we have not had the revelations just yet. So right now, for the most part, everything is kind of as expected. The red flags will come in the next episode. So we'll go over those again. Let's tune in and rewatch with me, because it is different with fresh eyes actually. So yeah, Love is Blind USA on Netflix. Cheers. Love Island Australia is set for a new season. So in preparation, we are going to break down the former season until it arrives. We're going a little bit back into the archives. Now, because we have streaming services, it is amazing because all of the seasons are there ready for us to have a look at, and it allows us to continue to chat about it. Now, for the last available season of Love Island Australia, we are going to focus on the first week on this week. Now, just a character breakdown of the contestants for as they are just kind of paired up. On the women's side, we have Em, who is a not bothered masculine energy. She does have the short hair. She is kind of, you know, that free spirit. Then we have Mimi, who is a little bit high strung. She does have a high sense of self. She does have good boundaries, and these are all good things. So she's on the top right now. Alicia is a little bit on the needy side. She is kind of that controlling, needing, demanding girl, which actually gives your power away, and that's something why jealousy and possessiveness are actually negative things, because what you're doing is you're focusing your energy on that person and giving your energy to them. So it is better to be like Em, who is disconnected and a little bit more aloof with her energy. Xanthi, who probably has less experience, is a little bit more clingy. We are not seeing that just as yet, but you can see it in her energy and how she so quickly moved to Zayn and dismissed the fella that she immediately coupled up with, showing that she is slightly obsessed with Zayn. Then there's Hannah, who is the princess. She's very beautiful and she is feeling things out. Just walked in bombshell in the first week, Sophie, who does seem to have a history with Zayn. She just showed up, so we don't have much on her. So then we will go to the men. We have Taylor, who had loads of women interested in him and ended up picking Elisha. He also had Im and I believe Hannah, who was interested in him. He said that he chose Elisha because he felt the other two were strong enough for him not to pick them, which we shall see on that. Zayn, oh, by the way, Taylor is put into his feminine energy because of the fact that these women are chasing him and he's enjoying it. So be careful, ladies. When you chase a fella, you will become the masculine energy, and if you're not okay with that dynamic, don't chase a fella. Then we have Zayn, who all of the women snogged on the first game, and so he's feeling pretty good about himself. He looks like the other Hemsworth brother. He is kind of sitting pretty, but because of this, he is a masculine energy person. You can see that. However, he is being put into his feminine energy because of all the attention. Dylan, I'm still out on him. He is attractive, but he does seem fickle. He's showing signs of being an F-boy, so we will see about Dylan. And then we have Nico, who he's the one you have to watch out for, because he's the one who is in the package of a nice fella, which everyone thinks you should pick him, and he should be a safe choice, and he's fit and he's beautiful. However, he is also complacent. He's also, okay, I have you, okay, done. I don't need to put in more energy, I don't need to put in more effort, and they expect you to stay just because of the feeling, without putting any extra effort to keep you. That is a trap, ladies, because they are a nice fella, they feel that's all they need. They feel that that is enough, and they do not try to woo you. They just become complacent and expect you to take them because they are a nicer person and the best option than the others that are out there. So be careful of that trap, ladies. Even nice guys should not be picked in some cases. So make sure there's a level of effort as well as values and, good niceness. Now, for a first week, nothing eventful has happened, but we get a baseline of their characteristics as well as their relationship potential. So let's look for next week as to some red flags that we can identify and kind of hone in on and keep you from repeating. This week in Big Brother has me so gutted, as my queen, Rachel, has been sent to the jury house. I am so upset, and the desire to watch has dimmed significantly for me. She brought the excitement, she brought the chemistry, the fire, her voice, the things she said, the way she looked, the way she dressed, everything was exciting for me. Rachel, at least you're still in the jury house. Hopefully they will give you some camera time, because I need a bit of Rachel every episode, to be quite honest. And they took out Will as well. So basically all the young ones are left. They took out the 2 senior members of the cast. Now, I 100% hold Ava responsible for the demise of Rachel in this game. I no longer find her cute, clever, or anything positive. Now when I look at her, I want her. She irritates me. She single-handedly is the reason why Rachel is gone. She should have picked her first. And the thing is, it's Keanu's fault also for spreading the fact that Rachel was looking to put her up on the block when it wasn't exactly that way, Keanu. And Keanu, that ruined your own game because you have a big mouth, so that's on you, and that's your fault, and you deserve that. However, Ava did not ask Rachel, didn't say anything, just made emotional decision, and Rachel, to be honest, was the reason why she was still there. Now she's expendable, now she's annoying. If she doesn't win anything, I hope she leaves. I really cannot stand her anymore. Those off-yellow, crooked fangs that she has, and the way she dresses like a homeless person. I'm sorry, that sounds really awful, but after her getting rid of Rachel, I just want to get her out of the house too. I would really want to see her in the jury house and see if any fireworks explode there, because she deserves it. I have no respect for her anymore. I don't want her to go any further. She is in the jury house, and that's as far as she deserves to go. Now, Keanu, surprisingly, is now my number 1 by default, because of the fact that he's a fighter, because of the fact that he had that chemistry and linked with Rachel. By default, Keanu becomes my number 1. He is playing a sloppy game, so hopefully he can make that work, but by his kind of dumb luck and sheer will, I think he has a good shot. And with him displacing Kenny, because they are kind of both the outcasts that nobody wants to be with, and because they're comp beasts, if they can make it work and prove, they could actually be the final 2, Kelly and Keanu, KK. Anyway, Kelly is still a big threat with her comp winnings, but because she has no social game, she has no self-awareness, that puts her kind of towards the bottom, which is also why she should link up with Keanu, because he has a poor social game as well. The decisions of these newbies are not quite sound with me. Now that Rachel's not there to give them guidance, it's going to be interesting to see how they fall apart. Now, Lauren and Morgan and Vince, that triangle is an interesting thing, because Vince is trying to play both sides, and you find out that he was an athlete, and that is probably why he developed some of his playaways. You can see how he charms the women and tells them what they want to hear, but it's not quite the truth. That is a very play mood, and Vince, I don't respect his game because of the way he's doing it. He's playing it very like a woman, but he's doing it well, so I can't hate him for it. Now, if he makes it to the end, he deserves it because he's really doing well. However, I don't respect him for doing it. He is basically using the women as his soldiers, and Lauren, who is head of household, it's a good thing he put her first. Now, the weird thing is both Vince and Morgan say they have relationships outside the house. However, we'll see if something doesn't sprout there between him and Lauren. And there are some weird feelings between Morgan and Vince as well, so we'll see if that all stays latent. To be honest, I think Morgan should play the game for herself right now and just use Vince as an ally, because that's what he's doing to her. He didn't choose her and he put her in danger, and he actually also aided to Rachel's going home. He is the second person I hold responsible, but Ava basically mostly. So Vince is just a little bit of a scum with how he uses women. So we'll see how that plays out. Social game of Lauren, only with Vince, is actually doing well, but she is not picking the good allies. Like, everyone's all over the place, no one's loyal to anyone. The alliances, none of them seem to be holding up. No final twos, everyone has a final two with everyone. These are all very bad gameplays, but we'll see how this goes. Hopefully someone raises to the top. Ashley might be that person. Ashley, because Rachel is gone, may not be able to hide behind that dodo facade. She may have to, grow up a little bit, win some competitions, and actually play a game. Both Will and Rachel are gone, and those were the ones who were kind of keeping her safe. Now they don't really have the numbers or competition winnings. So looking at how things are right now, if Keanu and Kelly partnered up, they could actually run the house. We will see if they are smart enough to figure that out on their own. But at this point, I just have to force myself to watch it now because there's no Rachel. But yeah, we will keep going. But yeah, it also changed schedules because of the Grammy, so there isn't much this week except for the fact that Rachel's gone, and that is the biggest thing. So we will try to get over this and come back with a little bit more energy and verve next week. So catch up if you're not there with me. Big Brother, it streams on many different platforms, but I am watching it on Prime, Amazon Prime, all of the year, because they keep all of the seasons right there for you. So follow along, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Contact me through my site. Okay, this week's movie recommendation is on Netflix. It's super cute. It is The Wrong Paris. And I love films like this because they're cute, super romantic, not too much, brain power goes into it, and yet you're entertained, and it emotionally triggers you, which is lovely. And this is right up my alley because it's actually a film about a reality show, making a reality show. So it's an absolutely adorable, romantic push and pull. There are fit people, beautiful fit people. It's a cute story about a girl who enters a competition because she needs money to go to Paris. However, they end up going to Paris, Texas, and it's a reality show where it's a love competition. So she has to be in competition for the heart of this fella, and he is dashing and he is fit and he is everything, but she wants to go to the real Paris. So it's kind of a push and pull about how she wants to get kicked off, otherwise she won't get the money to go to Paris, and he fancies her. So it's very cute. It's something you can watch by yourself. It's something you can watch with a date. It's feel good, it's funny, it's cute, it's romantic, you feel it. The push and pull is really nice. It's a cute one, it's new. It's called The Wrong Paris, and it's out on Netflix, so check it out and let me know what you think about it in the comments.
If you are easily offended, please leave now. All of the cool people give it up for Virolga Leilani.
I love relationships with fellas that barely speak English.
Maybe get
Cuts down on the arguments and lets you know straight away if they're a provider. Just point at something, blink repeatedly, and smile. If he gets nervous and says no, next. No one has time for that. I like them quiet, with resources, and hopefully there's a big dick bonus. That's my idea of a perfect relationship. And ice is ruining my dating pool because I refuse to get married. They take them away. No one meets my price. Yeah?
I gotcha.
And check out the latest from Aglorev Entertainment for all of your level up needs.